Hello and welcome. And finally, we are here. I know it's taken a long time, but we are finally here. This is the last video of this series where we've taken all the NCAA programs in Division 1, battled them up against each other, and we are now down to the final Sweet 16. And today we will figure out who is the best program in the country. I'm very excited to finally get to this point where we can see the end of this series. It's going to be really interesting to see how this unfolds. If there's going to be a surprise team that's kind of right down to the very end, or if we're going to get some two or three strong teams that finish things off. But it's all based on random, right? On who's going to be there. So there's certainly teams that have not had to face anyone so far, which might be to their advantage or disadvantage. We'll figure that out as we go along. So thank you again for being patient as it's taken a while to get this video out and going, but um, here we are, and we're going to get started right away. So here is our wheel, 16 entries left. Let's see who starts our finale video off. It looks like we're started up in the northeast with Dartmouth. And what direction are they going to try to attack in? Looks like they're headed off to try to go to the east, which means Dartmouth are going to start by trying to take on Yukon for control of the most of the northeast. And it is the Yukon Huskies that get the victory here. It was close to start with, and Dartmouth did get a lead, but Yukon eventually took over and made a pretty comfortable victory in the end. And with that, our first member of the Sweet 16 is off the board, as Connecticut has now got a greater control of the Northeast, controlling basically all of New Hampshire and pushed further into New York. Let's see who's up next on our wheel. Looks like we're headed off to see the Hofstra Pride. And let's see what direction they're going to try to go in. Looks like they're headed up to kind of the north and a little bit to the east here, which means for them, north and a little bit east is going to point us towards the Yukon Huskies. So again, the Huskies have to defend, this time against Hofstra. And this was certainly a closer game than the last one, as Hofstra and Connecticut go back and forth. But it is Yukon that do take a lead in the second half, and were able to push it forward to get another victory in this video and keep themselves alive. And Hofstra are now being removed from the board, as they are another victim of Yukon, and Yukon has now spread into Long Island, and for the first time, Yukon actually fully owns its own state of Connecticut, so it continues to stay in this video. Okay, let's keep ourselves going. Let's see who we have coming up next. And it looks like we have the Queen's Royals that are going to be attacking next. Now let's see what direction they're going to go into. They're already on the east coast, so anything pointing directly east, we're not going to take. However, you know what? This is even too east. I think it's not really going to go anywhere, so we're going to spin this again. And we're going to go directly to the south. And from where the logo is for the Queen's Royals, going south in that direction actually gets us to hit Stetson. So Queen's Royals are going to take on Stetson. And in a very close fashion, it is Stetson that get the victory here. The Stetson Hatters end up leading most of the game, and the Queen's Royals can never get on top of them. So it is actually Stetson that gets the victory against the Queen's University Royals. And now the Queen's Royals are off the map, and all this land now belongs to the Stetson Hatters. Just look at how much they've gained. They were just in a small little area in Florida, and now they've gained much of the east side of the United States. Just incredible. But we are back to the spinner to see where we're headed off to next. Looks like we are going to stay in the east side as we're going to see St. John's in action. Let's spin the arrow to see where they're headed. Looks like they're headed off down to the southwest, which means for St. John's going to the southwest means they are going to try to take all this lovely space that is newly acquired by the Stetson Hatters. I can't even scroll it out to see where they are. So St. John's, which is way up here, is going to take on the Stetson Hatters. And it is St. John's that gets the victory here. They are leading most of the way. Stetson did try to come back on a couple occasions, but St. John's is the winner against Stetson, and St. John's is going to collect all that lovely new land. And just like that, Stetson grew, and now Stetson has been eliminated, with St. John's Red Storm now taking over this huge piece of land. But we are back to the wheel again to see where we're off to next. And it looks like we're finally going to see the Mississippi State Valley Delta Devils in action. This is the first time we're going to see them in action this whole series, and they have to take on the St. John's Red Storm that newly acquired all this area. And it was a mightily close game. Back and forth with Mississippi Valley State taking an early lead, but many lead changes, but it was eventually St. John's that come away with the victory, and a 3-point victory at that. What a good matchup for the Delta Devils to be in for their very first matchup of the series. And the Delta Devils are officially off the map. They've done very well to last this long, but it is the St. John's Storm that continue to have control here, where now they are the first program to fully control Mississippi. But we're back to the wheel. We keep it going to see who we have next. And now we have the UCLA Bruins that are going to be in action. Now let's see what direction they're going to try to advance in. It looks like they're headed out to the east, which means UCLA are going to take on Creighton for control of most of the west part of the country. And it is Creighton that defeat the Bruins. This was going to be a tight battle regardless, but I'm surprised that Creighton was able to take down the Bruins. And they actually did it pretty comfortably, where they were leading and never gave up that lead against UCLA. So Creighton gets to expand further and become a front runner in this series. And UCLA has now been removed from the tournament, with Creighton taking a significant piece of land over here, now having nearly full control of the western side of the country and even control of the state of Hawaii as well. But we're back to the wheel again to see who stays in this tournament, and it's now going to be Creighton that go on the offensive. Now let's see what direction they're going to try to go into. It looks like they're headed off to the east or the southeast, which means Creighton is going to take on St. John's. And basically, between these two, this will be the first time whoever wins this matchup will be the first team to control going from west to east and control a good portion of both coastlines. So this is a big matchup for the appearance on our board. And it is Creighton that gets the victory. St. John's was leading a good portion of the game, but as the second half grew on, Creighton was able to catch up and then create a fairly big lead in order to win by 15. And now St. John's, oops, wrong color. St. John's is now being removed from the map in a huge change, which shows that Creighton are now controllers of most of the map and the first team to control parts of the West Coast and the East Coast, and uniting a lot of the middle pieces here. Oh, I forgot to fix Texas, but Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas have been united for the first time under the Creighton Blue Jays. But we are back to the wheel, and let's see where we're off to next. Looks like we're going to see the San Francisco Dons get in action. The Dons only have a couple options on the board, and with them going east, it means they're going to take on the mighty Creighton Blue Jays. Oops, sorry about that. That the San Francisco Dons are going to take on Creighton as well. And it was a tight matchup, but it is Creighton that gets the victory. Creighton was leading most of the time, but San Francisco was making it a pretty good ball game. But Creighton was able to push ahead in the end and get another victory on the board. And with that, the San Francisco Dons are also removed off of the board. And this is what our map looks like with only 8 teams remaining. So this is now the Elite 8, the last 8 teams remaining. St. Mary's, UC Santa Barbara, Creighton, Miami, VCU, Cornell, Iona, and UConn. And we're going to continue narrowing this down to the final 4 and then eventually our champion. Okay, we're back to the spinner. Let's see where we're headed off to next. And we're going to see the UConn Huskies in action again. UConn only have a few options of who they can attack, and them going north, a little bit north to the west direction, I think will determine where we're headed off to. And that push a little bit northwest means that UConn is going to then take on Cornell for a chance to expand further. So UConn is going to take on Cornell. And UConn is able to dispatch Cornell pretty handily. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very competitive game in truth, but UConn gets to advance further into this tournament. And Cornell, again, has done well to get to this point in the series, but has unfortunately been removed as UConn continue to control most of the Northeast, leaving not much left for them to attack in the future. Now only 7 teams left. Let's see who is in action next. And it looks like St. Mary's is going to be in action. St. Mary's does not have an option of who they're going to attack, as they're going to take on Creighton. And so St. Mary's is going to take on Creighton next. And in a huge game, St. Mary's is able to defeat the mighty Creighton. They took a lead in the first half. It was close at the very beginning, but they took a lead in the first half and never looked back. Is this the moment where St. Mary's can take this and go to a championship victory? I don't know, but this is a defining moment in the latter stages of this series. St. Mary's is defeating Creighton. It was a great run, Creighton, but unfortunately, your time is up. Creighton has been removed from the series, and it is St. Mary's that has now taken a foothold over the United States map. So just 6 remaining. Let's see who is going to be attacking next. And it is the Miami Hurricanes that are up next. And what direction is Miami going to go to? I don't know why I'm doing this, because when we look at the map, Miami's really only got one place to go. So Miami has to take on St. Mary's. And in a thrilling game that was back and forth with lead changes throughout, it is the Miami Hurricanes that eventually get the win over the St. Mary Gales, and it is Miami that's going to now take the ginormous piece of land that covers the United States. And with that, St. Mary's is also removed, giving Miami all of this space in here. Now we're left with just 5. Let's see who's going next. And it looks like Yukon is up next. And we will spin the spinner here, but there's not really going to be much of a choice. For Yukon can't go out east. And really, when we go down to the south, but it does look like Yukon is going to not play Iona, but it's far enough south that it's going to push this way. So Yukon is going to have to take on Miami. And that's huge because that's going to, again, potentially alter the map in a big way. And it is Yukon that gets another win, a pretty big win compared to the size of these programs. But Yukon and Miami were close for the most of the first half, and then Yukon was able to step away and take a commanding lead and get the win. And Miami is also now removed from the map, with Yukon having taken control of the United States, going from all the way to the top and all the way out west as well. And this is a look at our final 4. Um, Again, we've got Yukon as probably our favorite here, and regardless, they're going to have to face off against everyone else that's here, and hopefully, we'll either see Yukon as the winner, or maybe we'll get a surprise out of our final 4. So here we are, 4 teams left. Who's going to get a chance to act first? And it looks like Iona is going to try to take on Yukon first. Again, just reminding Iona has to take on Yukon as their opponent. And despite their best efforts, Yukon does get the win over Iona. It ends up not being too much of a competition as Connecticut run away with it. And Iona, like most other teams, gets swallowed up by Yukon as well, where then Yukon now has full control over the northeastern United States. And now we're down to 3. Let's see who gets to act next. And it looks like VCU is going to get its chance to act next and will take on Yukon. So a reminder to everyone, this is the first time that VCU has acted all tournament. They have not been attacked or done any attacking at all until now, the final 3, which is pretty incredible to do. The chances of that are pretty unlikely, but they now get their chance, and they're going to face off against Yukon. And once again, to no one's surprise, Yukon is able to dispatch of the Rams pretty convincingly. That was close near the beginning, but as soon as Yukon got a lead, they never looked back and got another victory. And with that, VCU have also been off the board, and we are down to our final 2, which is Yukon, who controls most of the map, and the small underdog of UC Santa Barbara. So that is our final matchup. We are still going to spin the wheel to confirm who is going to be the attacking team, because that does determine home or away. So we will spin our wheel one last time, and it will be Yukon that is the away team that's going to attack Santa Barbara. And congratulations goes to the Yukon Huskies as they have defeated the Gauchos of UC Santa Barbara, and yeah, they've made it a little bit more competitive. Santa Barbara did, but unfortunately, Yukon was just too much, and Yukon is our champion of our series. And with that, our final opponent is being removed from the board in UC Santa Barbara, and Connecticut is our champion. And like that, we see the Yukon Huskies as our champions. Thank you so much for watching this series. Don't go away just yet, as I've got a nice little recap of this entire series just to finish off this video. Thank you so much for watching. It's kind of funny how we have Yukon here as they're the champions in real life, but that's just how it worked out. Let me know what you think and maybe some content that I should do in the future. Please enjoy the final little moments of this series. And again, thank you very much for watching. See you another time.